Lucas and I run a portfolio literally doubled in value the year we quit. Welcome to part 4 of a 6-part series where I'm walking you through my journey in real estate. We're gonna go through the things that went through my head and the steps that I took to eventually quit my job and go full-time into real estate. So hopefully this resonates with you. If not, one part of this series will, so make sure you check out the entire playlist. I got my handy dandy sidekick here to help me walk you through it, right? May, high five. Up to this point, I probably had about 25 or 30 rental properties and done a few flips along the way, but now it was time to make the decision. Do I go all in on real estate or do I continue to invest on the side? Let me give you a little perspective to where I was in my life. This little girl over here was about 2 years old and I had a really good job that was paying me $250,000 a year in St. Louis. I enjoyed that job a decent amount. I definitely didn't hate it, and it provided me with a decent amount of freedom. However, my business partner Luke was quitting his job and going all in on real estate, so it was up to me. At first, I was scared about quitting. I was fearful that I was going to quit and not make as much money, and I was going to potentially lose my lifestyle that I had been creating and everything that I had been building because I was taking a chance on me in real estate and going full-time into it. But the more I thought about it, the more the fear shifted from what if I do it to what if I don't do it. And that's real. That fear of being left behind, that fear of what happens if I don't do this and I look back and wish I did. That fear ended up superseding the other fear of what if I do it. And that's how I was able to quit. There was a lot of other factors that went into it. Of course, I had some savings. Of course, we had some rental properties to fall back and I had some flips and wholesales in the pipeline. But the crux of the decision for me was what if I don't do this, not what if I do. So here's what I did to kind of set things up. I'm definitely not someone that's going to tell you to quit your job and go all into real estate no matter what without a safety net. Some of those a little more drastic and aggressive people on social media may tell you to do that. They might tell you jump out of the plane whether you know if your parachute's going to work or not because that's the only way to do it. I think you can strategically set things up so that you're more likely to be successful when you do quit. Something that Lucas and I really struggled with at the beginning was we tried to replace Lucas's income with rental income. And how I buy rental properties is not using any of my own money with the BRRRR method. While that's a great way to grow and scale, it's not a great way to make active income because you're only making $200, $300, maybe $400 net per month after all your expenses are paid from your cash flow from your rental properties. So in order to replace a $75,000, $80,000 salary, which is about what Lucas was making at the time, we had to buy a lot of rental properties. And even if you do buy that many rental properties, it's pretty risky to just rely on that income in case you have a couple HVAC systems go out, or if you have a couple roofs to replace, some bigger expenses that may happen and probably will happen eventually down the line. So replacing your W-2 income with rental income is not the way to do it, in my opinion, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, depending on how you look at it, it took Luke and I several years to figure that out. So what we ended up doing and what I would suggest you doing is creating some active income while you're building the passive income of rentals. Rentals are great. They're a wealth builder. They're going to set her great grandkids up for generations to come because of the rentals. But if you want to go full-time, you need active income as well that's not rentals. In my opinion, the best thing to do is to start to flip and wholesale, because when you're buying rental properties the way that I teach it and that she teaches it, you're finding distressed properties. You're talking to wholesalers and real estate agents and maybe even spending money on marketing to find distressed, discounted properties. And guess what? Not every distressed, discounted property that you come across is going to work as a rental property. Maybe the ARV is too high, maybe there's not enough equity, maybe it just simply won't cash flow because of the cost of living and the cost of owning that property. So rather than let those properties go to the wayside, make money on those properties, wholesale them, fix and flip them, make 20, 30, 40, 50 grand on them. If you do that just 2 or 3 times a year while you're building rentals, you'll probably make enough money to replace your active income. Therefore, you can go all in and quit. Because a lot of things changed. Lucas and I run a portfolio literally doubled in value the year we quit, because we went from spending 10, 15 hours max a week on real estate to spending 50, 60, maybe 70 hours on real estate a week. And like anything else, what you focus on grows. Here's some options that I would run through if you love your job and if you hate your job. If you love your job and you make enough money, focus on building wealth and building assets. Buy as many rental properties as you can to get that backbone. You're more bankable. You have a solid W-2 job, probably with years of experience in that job. So banks and lenders will love to lend you money. So start to build rentals more aggressively and then start to build some of those active streams of income. And then eventually you can quit quit, assuming you do even want to quit, because not everybody wants to quit their job, right, May? Now let's say you hate your job. This one's a little bit different. I think there's a few different options for you. Option one would be get a job in real estate. You hate your job anyway, so get a job in real estate that hopefully pays similar. Maybe it'll pay more, maybe it'll pay a little bit less. Jobs like becoming a real estate appraiser or being a project manager or a property manager or a real estate agent, just get a job inside the real estate space. And as long as you can live off that income, you're going to be surrounded by other people in the real estate space, and your side hustle that eventually will become your full job will grow even faster if you're on real estate all day, every day. If that's not an option for you, or you're not making enough money in that job, like I said earlier, fix and flip and wholesale. The average wholesale fee is $15,000 to $20,000, meaning you find a distressed property and sell it to somebody else to fix it up and mark it up 15 to 20 grand around the country. So some areas are a lot more than that 15 to 20 grand, and some are probably slightly less. And then you can also fix and flip. If you're finding distressed properties, fixing up and renting them, just find a distressed property, fix it up and sell it. And the spreads on flips, while a little more risky, are usually more of that $25,000 to $50,000 range. If you're not making a couple $100,000, 1 or 2 flips plus 1 or 2 wholesales a year should replace most of your income. All right, let's get on to the biggest challenges and the biggest successes at this time in my life. One of the biggest challenges that I didn't really think about when I quit was some banking hesitations that we ran into. As I mentioned earlier, banks love it when you have a solid W-2 job that you've been at for years. While this new venture is probably gonna end up being more profitable, banks just love that W-2 stable income in their minds. So when we quit our jobs, we had a couple banks hesitate. We had one bank say, we're not gonna lend you guys for a while. We had another bank say, we're going to pull back our guidance limit, meaning we will lend you less money than we were before. And then we had a couple other banks say, I've seen what you've done, I've seen what you're doing, and I think I know where you're going, so we will gladly continue to lend at a high pace. So that was a benefit that we didn't even know at the time, was building relationships with these small local banks over the past few years with full-time jobs. We're able to pick and choose ones that wanted to grow with us, which is a great choice to have. So make sure you're talking to multiple banks, not just one, as you're growing your rental portfolio. And initially for me and us, it was a little bit of a step back in income. The first 2 years after quitting my job, I made less money. Now, it wasn't substantial, but it was a little bit less. We had to tighten the strings on a few different things around the house, and I had to convince people that eventually it was going to be okay, which it was, but for a couple years, we made a little bit less money, so that was an adjustment for me. The biggest win was making the leap and deciding to go all in and bet on myself to create a better life for my family, which was huge. So that was awesome that Luke and I were able to time it to go full-time within a few months of each other, and then it's kind of been gangbusters since then. The other big win was we bought a 27-pack of houses. We bought a 27-pack of houses in one deal from one landlord, all occupied. We did it all without using any of our own money. Basically, we were able to use a hard money lender for the entire purchase of these properties, and then we let them season over the next 3 months, and then we went to a small local bank. They did a cash out refinance, which there was enough equity in there for us to pay back the hard money lender plus interest, and then we owned the properties and only had mortgages to the bank that rent paid. And while we were owning them with the hard money lender, we did have monthly payments, but the rent paid the monthly payments because we didn't have mortgages. If that was a lot, check out this video up here where I walk through the actual deal. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give this video, say a like, and say subscribe. And subscribe to this channel and all my other social medias. See you on the next one. And we'll probably do another one on this in the future. Sorry, babe.